Fear is a complex weapon, as oftentimes it relies on our imagination to make things worse than they really look or sound. Thanks to the power of technology, however, it's possible to make certain things look even worse than you remembered. Let's take a look at 14 enemies that were way more terrifying in the remakes than the original games. Nemesis, Resident Evil 3. Love it or hate it, there's no denying that the redesign for Nemesis in the upcoming Resident Evil 3 is pretty twisted. While the original looked frightening enough, the remake stretches its lower jaw skin further while resembling the T-103 more, which itself very much resembling Mr. X. It's a natural evolution and reflects the extreme nature of the pursuer. Jacques, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Jacques looked fairly tame in the original Spyro the Dragon. You'd never have guessed that he was a demented Jack-in-the-Box monster with razor-sharp teeth and pin-shaped eyes. So thank goodness for the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, which reimagined Jacques as he was meant to be, that too in a stage surrounded by lava befitting some aged hell. Mr. X, Resident Evil 2. The original Mr. X looked kind of pudgy, which was more due to the technology at the time. While the tyrant could be threatening, his overall look didn't really reflect that. Cut to Resident Evil 2 on current-gen platforms where Mr. X is a straight-up beast, pushing past zombies, stomping with determination as opposed to lumbering about, and grabbing Leon or Claire by the throat to slam them on the ground. And who can forget shunting the wrecked helicopter aside like it's nothing, or his dapper hat. Gravemind, Halo 2 Anniversary. Gravemind was designed to look overwhelming and creepy, but still respond intelligently. Its encounter with Master Chief and the Arbiter in the original version of Halo 2 makes it seem more like an extraordinary life form than some simple monster. Of course, Halo 2 Anniversary decided to up the nightmare quotient, making Gravemind's overall shape much more discernible, but also more oozing. And just wait until it opens its mouth. Kraid, Metroid Zero Mission. Remember the first time you fought Kraid in Metroid on the NES? Well, probably not, given that it was over 30 years ago. But back then he was just a short dude, matching up to Samus's height, which wasn't that tall either. In Metroid Zero Mission, Nintendo did something brilliant. It made Kraid bigger. Like, freakishly big, covering half the screen with his massive girth. Also, those spikes emerging from his stomach holes are now way more prominent. It may or may not be grosser than it sounds. The Moon, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. You wouldn't think the moon could look even more demented than it did in The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, but boy howdy does Nintendo surpass expectations. In the 3DS remake, the moon has a much more pronounced and fuller nose, bigger eyes, and more prominent teeth. Perhaps more importantly, its expression is even more twisted and insane because when you're a giant moon crashing into Hyrule, sometimes you've got issues. Marx, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There's something about Marx's winged form in 3D that just makes it all the more unsettling. Compared to his boss fight in Kirby Superstar Ultra, which still looks fairly innocent, his Super Smash Bros. Ultimate version feels off. Maybe it's the more lifelike, unblinking eyes or the large, creepy smile. Oh, and there are some gooey bits that are briefly exposed when he splits open into a black hole. Joy. Zeta Metroid, Metroid Samus Returns. In the original Metroid 2 Return of Samus for the Game Boy, the Zeta Metroids were fairly disgusting, but also small and kind of cute. So of course, why not bump up their size, elongate their limbs, and turn them into proper horror movie monsters in the remake? That's precisely what happened in Metroid Samus Returns, and the experience is all the more terrifying for it. Black Tiger, Resident Evil HD Remaster. Everything about the Black Tiger is just wrong in the Resident Evil HD Remaster. It acts much more lifelike, as opposed to simply walking at you like in the PS1 version. You can see its mouth twitching and the little fur on it in much finer detail. Thankfully, it's not that tough to beat, so you can leave it behind that much sooner. Poppets and Reagan, Conker Live and Reloaded. The very concept of Poppets and Reagan involves an innocent little bunny girl who's been experimented on and turned into a hand puppet fused into a giant bear with mechanized spider legs. She even does the classic 360-degree head spin before showcasing her true form with Reagan. In the Live and Reloaded version, not only are Poppet's eyes ever so slightly bloodshot, but the stitching on Reagan is much more pronounced. Long story short, it's literally bad news bears and bunnies. Yawn, Resident Evil HD Remaster. Much like Black Tiger, Yawn is more lifelike in the remake. As such, the way its body slithers and pulses is icky enough. Then it reveals its multi-fanged mouth and attempts to bite your head off. Nope. Unlike Black Tiger though, Yawn isn't simply confined to one room for his boss fight, pursuing you through the halls. Giant Polar Bear, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Not to be confused with Polar, the adorable little polar bear that helps Crash out, this giant polar bear will relentlessly chase our hero in Cortex Strikes Back. While the original looks scary in a cartoony way, the realism is dialed up much further in the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Suffice it to say that Crash's terror is fully understandable, especially with how enormous and sharp those teeth are. Stained Glass Demon, Medievil. Yet another consequence of the technology at the time, the stained glass demon from Medievil looked more like a glassy walking bat. Its movement was stilted, and the lower resolution meant blurrier textures. However, in the PS4 remake, the demon gives us Green Goblin vibes, shuffling from side to side with every detail clearer than ever. It's creepier, but also way cooler looking. Genie, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. While we doubt Nintendo is going for a straight Pennywise adaptation here, the Genie in the Link's Awakening remake is definitely more scary clown than regular clown, unless you're in the all clowns are scary category. The abundance of detail could be blamed, or maybe it's just how disturbing that tongue looks in full HD.
And that wraps it up. If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos daily, so make sure you don't miss them by subscribing. We appreciate your support, and we thank you for checking us out.